Hi, this is Miss Wiles, and in this video we'll be looking for the x-intercept of a function. Now, similarly to the y-intercept, you have to remember that there's a relationship between the y-intercept and when x is 0, and the x-intercept and when y is 0. With the x-intercept, the y is always 0. Most of the time when you have a multiple choice question that talks about x-intercept, there might be a couple of the answers that you'll be able to eliminate immediately. But in this case, there isn't, because every y is 0. And even if you don't remember that y is 0, when you look at your answer choices, in this one you see that y is always 0. But x could be something else. Now, there's always substitution for input with the x and output for the y. And when you have multiple choice like this, what this is telling you is that one of these is right. One of these, if you were to substitute -16, you might get a 0. That might be right. Or if you substitute -8, you might get a 0. Or if you substitute 2, you might get a 0. Or if you substitute 4, you might get a 0. Now, if you have a calculator, you can use that to evaluate that expression, but we don't. So you start with whichever one you want to start with first and you check. I would start with 4, or maybe 2, because those are easier to substitute than the -8 and the -16, because there's more evaluation or more difficult evaluation to be done. So maybe we should start with the 2, because a 2 is pretty easy to substitute. So I'd go up to my function. I have y equals 4 times 2 to the x power minus 16. And that 2, if I'm checking C to see if it's right, means that I would substitute 2 for x. So I go back up to the function and I go 4 times 2 to the second power minus 16. Now, 4 times 2 to the second power, I have to do the exponent first. So that's 2 to the second power, which is 4. And then I have 4 times 4 minus 16. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 minus 16 equals 0. Well, that's the answer. The answer is C. That strategy works great if you have multiple choice, but if you don't have multiple choice, or if you just want to do it this way, there's one strategy, and here's the second strategy. The second strategy, since you know that with the x-intercept, the y is going to be equal to 0, the y is the output, 0 would have to equal 4 times 2 to the x power minus 16. And then we begin to solve the equation looking for the value of x. We would solve this equation. Yes, we're in school, and that was the longest bell I think I've ever heard. We would solve this equation by first adding 16 to both sides of the equation and getting 16 equals 4 times 2 to the x power. Then we would divide both sides of the equation by 4. And when we divide both sides of the equation by 4, this 4 cancels out because 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And we still have 2 to the x power left over here. We can use parentheses or not. And then at this point, if we're looking for what value of the exponent would give us 4, then at this point it's pretty easy for us to look at it and say, oh, that would be 2 squared. And so x does equal 2. And our answer is still C, which is 2, 0. So you have the substitution. You can either substitute and evaluate, looking for your input to give you the appropriate output, or you can solve for x. In both of these situations, you have to know that y equals 0, and you put all that together, and you will find your correct answer. And that's all I have to say about that.